I will defend her. The black janitor who saved Billionaire after her lawyer abandoned her in court. Alright, come closer, let me tell you a story. A story about how a simple janitor, a black man invisible to most folks, ended up standing tall in a courtroom and saying, I will defend her. You see that picture right there? It was a sight to behold, let me tell you. Yellow gloves still on, mop bucket by my side, and me, Seth Oscar, just a janitor, speaking up for a fancy white billionaire. The whole room went silent, you could hear a pin drop. They thought I was crazy, maybe a black janitor, stepping in where big-shot lawyers had fled. But what they didn't know, yes, what nobody knew, was that this moment, right then and there, was gonna rip open one of the biggest, nastiest corporate conspiracies this country's ever seen. The same folks who tried to bury me 12 years ago. Yeah, them. Now, before I get too far ahead of myself, let me ask you, where y'all watching from? Drop it in the comments. And if you believe that justice ain't got no color, no fancy suit requirements, then hit that like and subscribe button. Because this ain't just my story, it's a story about how even when they try to erase you, when they try to tell you to stay in your place, black folks can still rise. So, what do you think made an old man like me, a man who'd lost just about everything, step out of those shadows and into that courtroom? What would make a janitor risk the little he had left for a complete stranger? Well, it all started like any other morning, long before the sun even thought about rising over Chicago. For 30 a.m., day in, day out, for 12 long years, I'd been cleaning those very floors, watching those big-shot lawyers come and go. Always invisible, always just the help. But sometimes, being invisible means you see things others miss. And oh, the things I saw. Every morning, before the city truly woke up, my day began on Chicago's South Side. For 30 a.m., just me and the silence in that little two-bedroom apartment. Marcus's college acceptance letters tacked proudly to his wall. A quiet reminder of why I worked. I'd glance at Rebecca's photo, my wife, gone 8 years now. Died from complications we couldn't afford to treat properly after I lost everything. That $2,600 a month maintenance salary, it barely stretched, but $400 always went to Marcus's fund. Then, the long bus ride downtown, always sitting in the back, heading to the very courthouse where I'd spent 12 years cleaning the floors of courtroom 7B, the same room where I once stood as a respected attorney. My navy blue uniform with Maint stitched over my chest and Seth on the name tag. It was my second skin. But even under that fabric, my mind still held onto the law. Lunch breaks in the boiler room, I'd read old journals, the words feeling familiar even with my hands calloused from chemicals, not legal pads. Lawyers would walk by, talking shop, never seeing me, just furniture. The help. I still kept those disbarment papers, right alongside my reinstatement certificate, tucked away in my locker. Painful reminder. Titanium Pharmaceuticals, they took my career, accused me of fabricating evidence when I tried to expose their deadly drug trials. It took 4 years to clear my name, but by then, nobody wanted a black lawyer who'd been erased. They never do. In that grand courthouse, where silk suits glided over marble floors, I was just a ghost, reading about Amanda Collins's fraud trial in the discarded newspapers. But sometimes, when you're invisible, you see things. Like Barrister Abel, Amanda's lawyer, taking hushed calls, talking about payments and not being in court. Seth, old Johnson, the security guard, he'd always say, "You were the best. Don't let them make you forget." Oh, I hadn't forgotten. Not for a second. That first 20-minute recess was a whirlwind. Amanda, still reeling, quickly explained her situation. Collins Tower, her big affordable housing project, aimed to bring 2,000 low-income units to the South Loop, 30% below market rate. She was accused of defrauding investors out of $800 million. 3 months of hell, she called it. Frozen accounts, partners bailing, her name dragged through the mud. I listened, absorbing every word, making mental notes, wishing I had a legal pad instead of just my memory. When court resumed, I walked to the podium in my janitor's uniform. Sterling, the prosecutor, practically sneered, and the jury looked at me like I was a bad joke. Ladies and gentlemen, I started, my voice clear despite my appearance. I apologize for how I look. I'm not wearing a $1,000 suit like my colleague. Less than an hour ago, I was mopping this very floor. A few nervous chuckles rippled through the gallery. But I've learned something in 12 years of cleaning this courthouse. I continued, my voice gaining strength. Justice isn't about expensive suits or fancy offices. It's about truth. And the truth here is simple. Amanda Collins is innocent. I looked directly at the jury, my gaze sweeping over their faces. I've also learned that when powerful people want to destroy someone, they don't just attack in daylight. They work in shadows. They use the system itself as a weapon. For 12 years, I've been invisible in this building. But being invisible means you see things others don't. And what I've seen suggests Ms. Collins isn't just fighting false charges. She's fighting a conspiracy. Sterling's opening was all polished accusations, mountains of evidence, witness testimony painting Amanda as a greedy billionaire. The jury seemed to buy it. Then came his first witness, Derek Mitchum, a forensic accountant. He droned on about irregularities in the Collins Tower project. When it was my turn to cross-examine, every eye in that courtroom was on me, waiting for me to stumble. But I didn't stumble. My questions were precise, cutting right to the heart of it. I made him admit he'd never seen the original documents, that his entire analysis was based on copies handed to him by Genesis Capital Group. Then I dropped the bomb. Mitchum had received a $75,000 consulting fee 2 days before his testimony. Mr. Mitchum, I asked, my voice low and steady, isn't it true you were paid to reach a specific conclusion? The courtroom erupted. Judge Hawthorne stared at me, a new look of dawning recognition in her eyes. Mr. Oscar, she said quietly as the room cleared. That was impressive. Court is adjourned until tomorrow at 9 a.m. You'll need proper attire. I just nodded. I'll handle it, Your Honor. Knowing full well I had no idea how. Out in the hallway, Amanda approached me, a look of awe on her face. That was incredible, she breathed. How did you? I cut her off gently. I told you, Miss Collins. I was a lawyer once. They took my career, my wife, my dignity. But they couldn't take what I know. She looked at me, really saw me, past the uniform. Why are you doing this? She asked. Because everyone deserves a defense, I said. And because I know what it feels like when the system crushes you. We agreed to meet at her penthouse after my shift, at midnight. This fight was just beginning. The next morning, I walked into court wearing a borrowed suit. A bit big on me, but clean and pressed thanks to Marcus's steady hand last night. Dad, you got this, he'd whispered. The courtroom was buzzing. Janitor lawyer defends billionaire. That was the headline, and you could feel the mixed reactions. Folks either inspired or wondering how a black man in a hand-me-down suit thought he could stand against the system. Prosecution brought out Dr. Helena Voss, an MIT economist, credentials long as my arm. She droned on for 30 minutes, making Amanda's project sound like a mathematical impossibility, a deliberate fraud. Amanda's face drained of color. The jury seemed convinced. But I saw the cracks. Dr. Voss, I began my cross. Your analysis assumes traditional market conditions, correct? I started pulling apart her fancy models, showing she never looked at Amanda's actual contracts, the bulk discounts, the community labor. She admitted her analysis was based on standard industry models, meaning, not reality. Then the knockout blow. I held up bank records. Dr. Voss, did Genesis Capital Group pay for your analysis? She hesitated. They compensated me for my time, to the tune of $250,000? For 3 days of work. The wire transfer date, a week before the indictment, hit like thunder. Sterling objected furiously, but the judge let it stand. No further questions, I said. The witness has said enough. Reporters swarmed outside, all asking, "How does a janitor know all this?" The old, underlying question always there. How does a black man outsmart white experts? I just held my ground, protecting Amanda, telling them I was a licensed attorney. Then my phone buzzed. "Marcus, Dad, I found something. Meet me at Bronzeville Cafe. It's important." I met him there, still in that too-big suit, Marcus's eyes wide with a mix of excitement and fear. "Dad, I've been digging," he said, pulling out his laptop. "Genesis Capital's ownership is hidden, but I traced it. Shell companies, offshore accounts, the Cayman Islands, and then the final destination, Titanium Pharmaceuticals." My world stopped. "No, it can't be." Marcus nodded, his face grim. "It's them, Dad. The same company that destroyed our family." Amanda watched, seeing the raw pain on my face for the first time. My hands shook, holding the printouts. They took everything from me. My career, my wife. And now they're doing it to someone else. Back in Amanda's penthouse, Marcus laid it all out. The Collins Tower wasn't just a development. It was a wrecking ball aimed at a monstrous gentrification scheme. Titanium Pharmaceuticals, it turned out, thrived on human suffering, profiting from the healthcare deserts created when poor communities, especially black and brown families, were displaced. Push people out, hike up housing costs, deny them access to good care, and suddenly they're dependent on expensive emergency rooms and Titanium's pills. It was a vicious trillion-dollar ecosystem. Marcus showed us the web: 5 pharma giants, 3 insurance conglomerates, real estate developers, even 2 Chicago aldermen on Titanium's payroll. And Barrister Abel's old firm, Brennan, Ross and Associates? A senior partner sat on Titanium's board. "This isn't about me," Amanda whispered, the enormity of it settling on her. "It's about protecting a system. They're erasing you just like they erased me," I told her. "But you've got the resources to fight back." Then Marcus's phone rang. His university financial aid office. Scholarship revoked. Irregularities. My face hardened. "When did you apply for that, son?" 2 years ago, he said. "No irregularities." Amanda saw the quiet fury in my eyes. "They're punishing your son for helping me." Marcus stood firm. "I'm not backing down, Dad. This is exactly why we have to fight." I pulled him into a tight hug. "Your mother would be so proud." Amanda, quiet, then spoke. "I'll cover Marcus's tuition. And Seth, this isn't charity. It's restitution for what they're doing to your family." My pride wrestled with her offer, but for Marcus I accepted. For him, not for me. The fight got ugly fast. Our apartment, Marcus's and mine, was broken into. Racist graffiti slashed across the walls, Rebecca's photos torn. "Stay in your place, boy," they'd spray painted. The police called it random vandalism. Didn't bother to investigate. I knew better. Terrorizing black families, that's an old playbook. Then Marcus's laptop got hit, files corrupted. "But my boy is smart. Dad taught me to always have a backup plan," he said, pulling everything from an encrypted cloud. He traced the hack right back to Genesis Capital. Then Amanda's turn. Her car was T-boned outside the courthouse by a black SUV. No plates. Concussion, broken ribs. I rushed to the hospital, holding her hand while she was unconscious. "Don't you dare give up," I whispered. "We're not done fighting." She insisted Marcus and I move into her penthouse. I resisted, feeling that old racial tension, like the help moving into the master's house. But she was firm. "This isn't about pride, Seth. This is about survival." We moved into a guest suite bigger than our whole apartment. Marcus adapted, but I struggled with the opulence, feeling out of place. Amanda found me one night, looking out over the city. "It's hard for a black man to feel comfortable in spaces like this," I told her. "History has taught us we don't belong." She listened, truly listened. "Then help me make it a space where you do belong." At 2 a.m., security called. Barrister Abel was there, disheveled, terrified, clearly beaten. He confessed everything. Titanium had his gambling debts, his offshore accounts. They'd paid him $500,000 to sabotage Amanda's case. He brought evidence. Recorded conversations with Dr. Carmine Rossi, Titanium's CEO, talking about eliminating the Collins problem permanently, financial records, fabricated documents. "I can't live with myself anymore," he choked out. "Whatever happens to me, you need to stop them." Marcus, quick as a whip, went through Abel's files. 15 intense minutes later, he found it. A pattern. 3 other affordable housing developers targeted, framed, their projects destroyed, some even suicided. All reformers, many of them people of color. The web was undeniable. The next morning, we were all in Amanda's penthouse, poring over Abel's evidence. Suddenly, the alarm blared. Perimeter breach. Multiple hostiles. Armed. On the monitors, 6 men in tactical gear, not police but private contractors, storming the building. Amanda's head of security, Reeves, a former Marine, shouted, "Safe room, now!" He led us through a hidden passage behind the kitchen, into a reinforced bunker with a 6-inch steel door. Through the monitors, we watched the tactical team advance, outgunning Reeves and his 2 guards. The battle raged in the penthouse, 1 guard wounded, the attackers relentless. Marcus, ever quick, recorded everything on his phone. "This is evidence," he said. I clutched Abel's files. They wanted these, but they wouldn't get them. The team planted a C4 explosive on the safe room door. I recognized the tactic. "They did this to Black Wall Street," I murmured. "When we build something, they burn it down." Marcus, scared but resolute, looked at me. "Then we make sure this time is different." Amanda finally understood the true stakes. "This is what you've been fighting your whole life," she said, "and what we'll keep fighting until it changes." The device armed, a countdown blaring. 60 seconds. 911 said units were 5 minutes away, not enough time. I pulled Amanda and Marcus close. "Whatever happens, know you both fought for something that mattered." Amanda gripped my hand. "I'm sorry I never saw before. I'm sorry for my privilege. We don't end here," I told her, my voice fierce. "We don't let them win." At 10 seconds, the device suddenly powered down. On the monitors, police SWAT teams flooded the building, FBI agents in vests. The tactical team scattered, leaving their explosive behind. Agent Rodriguez, FBI, entered the safe room. "Mr. Oscar, Ms. Collins, you're safe." Abel, she explained, had contacted the FBI 2 days ago, wearing a wire. They'd been monitoring Titanium for months. This attack gave them the probable cause they needed. Simultaneously, FBI raids hit Titanium headquarters, Genesis Capital, Dr. Rossi's estate. Rossi, 8 executives, 4 lawyers, including Sterling's senior partner, all arrested. Servers recovered, evidence of a decade-long conspiracy. Barrister Abel is in protective custody, Agent Rodriguez concluded. His testimony will ensure convictions. 3 days later, the courthouse buzzed with a different kind of energy. The courtroom was packed, overflowing, with news crews from every major network. Judge Hawthorne, a changed woman, presided. Prosecutor Sterling was nowhere to be seen, suspended, facing his own investigation. The acting prosecutor stood, a grim look on his face. "Your Honor," he announced, "in light of recent revelations and federal charges, the state moves to dismiss all charges against Amanda Collins with prejudice." Motion granted. "Miss Collins, you are free. The charges are dismissed entirely." The judge's words echoed through the silent room. Then she turned to me, her gaze steady. "Mr. Oscar, I must apologize. When you first stood before this court, I doubted you. I allowed appearance to cloud my judgment. You've reminded us all what justice truly requires." A standing ovation erupted in the courtroom, a thunderous roar. But even amidst the applause, I saw deeper. "Your Honor, with respect," I said, my voice cutting through the noise. This case shows how easily the system can be manipulated against those without power. We need reform. Outside, a sea of microphones and cameras waited. Amanda and I stood together. A black woman reporter asked, "Mr. Oscar, what does this victory mean?" I looked directly into the camera, my voice strong and clear. "It means we can't let them make us invisible anymore. It means black excellence exists even when they try to erase it. And it means we're just getting started." If you believe this, drop your comments and please subscribe for more. See you tomorrow.